This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming Helen Baldwin. Helen played Mrs. Tringle on Dawson's Creek in some of the first 3 episodes of the show, including my personal favorite, The Detention Club, which was a parody of The Breakfast Club. And I am so friggin' excited. I can't wait to have her on. She's a South Carolina-based actress. She was in Black Rainbow with Rosanna Arquette and Jason Robards. She was in Something to Talk About with Julia Roberts and Dennis Quaid and Robert Duvall. God, she's done a lot of great stuff. She's even made her own short films, St. Dede and Songbird, and she's done a lot of theater, and it's going to be a great conversation today. And oh my God, just when you thought that you wouldn't be hearing any more about the strike, it's still going on. I mean, the strike is not happening, but like the negotiations between SAG and the pro AI people are going on, and it's just creating a web and ball of confusion. It's just like, fuck, can't we come to a compromise? You know what I mean? I mean, this is just so friggin' crazy. But then again, we live in this crazy world right now with fascism and corporate big business, you know. It's just like fucking, it's like the mighty dollar is ruling everything now. And I just hope we can fucking pull ourselves out of it, because this is just insane. This is the most insane thing that's happened in a long time in Hollywood concerning strikes, you know. So hopefully everything will come to a head with it pretty shortly. But at least there's no picketing at the moment. So yeah, here is my interview with Helen Baldwin. Hey Helen, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thank you very much. I'm well. How are you?
I am just fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time today. This is an honor.
Oh, likewise.
Thank you. So, going back in time, did you gravitate toward acting early on in your childhood?
I would say from middle school on. But earlier, yes. Earlier I was doing commercials I saw on television for shampoo and things like that.
Nice, nice. Did you get involved in school?
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you just fine. Did you get involved in school plays and community theater and all that?
Yes. When I was in middle school, I was in Cheaper by the Dozen.
Oh. I just interviewed one of the kids from that movie the other day.
Oh, wow.
The original, cool. Not the remake. The original, Jimmy Hunt.
Wow, I'm going to have to look him up.
Yeah, he's the kid in Invaders from Mars. He was in both the original and the remake of that one. Yeah.
And I wish I knew that, but I don't.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great, though. Where are you from originally?
I was born in Tarrytown, New York.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was growing up, I got to see Yul Brynner on Broadway in King and I.
Oh, I actually know someone who was in it. I don't know if it was the same run, though. Barbara Luna.
I wouldn't know. I was a little girl.
Yeah.
I was probably about 8 or 9, but even at that age, I could tell this was an impressive man. The way he stood, the way he jumped, the way he danced, I recognized he was a star.
Yeah, he was fantastic. He was just, there was no one like him, and there hasn't been one since, I'll tell you. So when you were growing up, you went to a lot of Broadway shows?
No, not a lot. That's one I remember. I'm not sure if I remember any other. I saw, oh Lord, the Audrey Hepburn film. I saw that at Radio City Music Hall. The one about the cat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh Lord, I can't remember. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I kind of know what you're talking about. Cat, yeah.
Classic. It's a classic Audrey Hepburn film.
So when you were in cheaper
Breakfast at Tiffany's. Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Breakfast at Tiffany's, that's right. That's right. So when you were doing Cheaper by the Dozen, is that where you developed your knack for comedy? Because you're so great at comedy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That, and I used to try to cheer up my family with little skits. I would do crazy little skits in front of my family.
Nice. So after high school, did you attend college?
I did. I went to IU, Indiana University, and I majored in theater.
Mm-hmm. Any of your classmates there we would know?
Let me think. Well, Sam Smiley was one of the teachers, and he wrote some stuff. Sam Smiley, he wrote some stuff that was later done in Hollywood. Yes, you would know Patty Callenber.
Oh, yeah.
Patty Callenber. Yes. She was one of my classmates.
Wow.
She and I dated the same boy briefly, Jay Loudenback.
Wow, what are the odds?
I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and John Shipp. John Shipp was in Dawson's Creek.
John Wesley Shipp, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. It was such a small world back then, you know? It's like there was no internet. Everybody knew each other.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, depending on where you were at, you know? But a lot of people did a lot more traveling and stuff. Wow. That is so cool. And when you were there, did you do any theater that stands out to you?
I did. I did The Crucible. I did The Miser. I did A Flea in Her Ear, which is a farce by Feydeau. So I did a lot of theater. There was a lab theater, and I did Man in the Moon Marigolds and Old Times by Harold Pinter. I did a lot of stuff.
Nice, nice. And so you thought to yourself, wow, I could actually make a living at this?
I don't know if I ever thought I could make a living. I don't know if, but I said, I love this. I love this. I'm going to go for it.
Wow. In 1980, you did a production of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. You played 3 different characters. That must have been grueling to do.
Oh, it was great to do. I mean, I put on a fat suit for Miss Fezziwig. It was great. It was great fun. Of course, I loved The Christmas Carol. My father's from England. In fact, he comes from Kent, not very far away from where Charles Dickens grew up. So I'm very familiar with Dickens, and I love that show. So yes, that was great. And that's where I got my equity card. I had worked before in Horse Cave Theater, which is now defunct. Mm-hmm. I had played Wilhelmina in Dracula, and wow. I had earned points to my equity card, but I finally got my equity card there at Actors Theater.
The Dracula play that Frank Langella did, and eventually the movie?
I believe so. It was called The Passion of Dracula.
Okay, I don't know if it was called The Passion of Dracula, but it was Dracula. It was a Dracula play version. That is so cool. Wow. So did you focus on theater only until the movie and TV work started? Well,
when I married my husband, we were both IU graduates, and we auditioned for graduate school. We moved to South Carolina, where we got scholarships for graduate school. But one of the things that lured us to South Carolina was that the professor told us there was film work down here, and he was absolutely right. So my husband and I came down here, went to graduate school, and auditioned for films.
Yeah. What brought you to Carolina, of all places?
Well, that was it. This professor, Richard Jennings, we were in a Chicago hotel room auditioning through IRTA, the University and Regional Theater Association. And we were trying to find a graduate school that would accept both of us, of course. And he told us that if we moved to South Carolina, we could do summer repertory and we would have the opportunity to audition for films in Wilmington, North Carolina, which had a studio. Mm-hmm. And we thought about that and we said, that sounds like a good deal. So we came down here.
And you've been there ever since?
And we've been here ever since.
There was never like an itching to like go back to New York or even try LA?
No, because we had 2 children and this is a good place to raise children.
Mm-hmm. It seems very communal over there.
Yes.
So the first TV movie credit on your IMDb is the Ryan White story, which is an AIDS awareness movie at a pivotal time in history when AIDS was still new and people were trying to figure out, where it came from and everything. What was that like to make?
Oh, it was wonderful. George C. Scott was in that movie. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get to interact with him, but briefly on set, I told him how much I enjoyed him in the film Day of the Dolphin, which is probably not a film that he's famous for at all. But he has this wonderful monologue at the beginning of the film, and I just absolutely fell in love with him for that monologue.
Yeah, that movie, there was an actress on set who said to Mike Nichols, please keep Mr. C. Scott away from me. I'm terrified of him. And Mike Nichols said, honey, we're all terrified of George. Because he was so intimidating, he was so intense. But
I have to say on Ryan White's story, he was such a gentleman. Mm-hmm. And the brief encounter I had, and he was almost demure, he thanked me and it was just a wonderful 1.5 minute exchange.
Yeah, that had a great cast. Judith Light, who was the boss at the time, Sarah Jessica Parker, Lucas Haas, Valerie Landsberg, who I had a crush on as a kid, Peter Scolari, Grace Zabriskie, John Hirschfeld directed. Wow, that's a great debut there.
It was. It absolutely was.
Then you do the very underrated horror thriller Black Rainbow. Was that fun to do?
Oh, yes. I had heard when I was cast that Roseanne Arquette was in it. I knew she was the star. What I didn't realize was that Tom Hulse and Jason Robards were in it. Well, Tom Hulse came to my trailer the night before, when I arrived, the night before we were going to shoot, because we had a scene together. And when he knocked on my door and I saw him, my jaw dropped and I said, oh, I didn't know you were in this movie. and he said, I hope it's okay. And I said, oh my goodness, I am so honored because of course I had just seen Amadeus and thought he was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, oh God, that's a great performance. I mean, he had done, Animal House and played kind of a nerdy guy in that, and now he blows everybody away with Amadeus, and he got an Oscar nomination, and his co-star F. Murray Abraham got it, but it was so hard to pinpoint who the winner should be because they're both great in it,
Exactly. They were foils for each other.
Yeah, Roseanne Arquette, I just adore her. She's so adorable and talented. And Jason Robards, he was in demand by that point as one of the old great character actors of his time. Mike Hodges, who directed Get Carter and the 1980 Flash Gordon, directed it. What was he like?
Oh, Mike Hodges was wonderful. He said that I reminded him, at that time I had a perm in my hair, and he said that I reminded him of Elsa Lanchester. So I was very, very honored. But I just wanted to say about Jason Robards, he was so down to earth and just such a regular guy. He was telling us about he was going to get tooth implants. Mm-hmm. And he was opening his mouth and saying where they were going to be. And I couldn't believe that an actor of his caliber, his reputation was just so much of a regular guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I always heard that about him. He was just a regular guy. I think the 20 years or so that he was focusing on theater only probably grounded him, you know?
Yes.
You know, and plus he had a lot to live up to because, you know, for those years, you know, all he was to a lot of people was Lauren Bacall's second husband after Bogart had died. But then he came into his own.
Yes. Yes. I loved him in Parenthood, which he did. I can't remember if it was shortly before or after he did Black Rainbow, but I absolutely loved him in that.
Him and Holst played father and son in that.
Yes. Yes. And it was around the same time.
Yeah. Wow, what a coincidence there. Labor of Love, the Arlene Schweitzer story.
That was a great movie. I enjoyed working on that. I played a doctor in that. I wasn't familiar with the other actors in it, but I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, Ann Jillian, she was a TV icon by that point. And Tracy Gold from Growing Pains was on there, and Bill Mitrovich from Life Goes On. Yeah, they were all TV people. Now, I did not know this until I was looking on your IMDb. Beauty and the Bandit.
Oh, that was so much fun. Tony Curtis, oh my goodness, another superstar who was the most modest, down-to-earth, great guy. Somewhere I have a photo of he and I together. He was fine, posing with pictures, you know, just talking to us. Just a great guy.
Yeah, Hal Needham, what was he like?
Oh, he was fun. One take, you had to do it. Well, we all knew that. We heard that before we went on set, but we knew our lines, and we did it in one take. And
it's funny. He always put his girlfriends in the Burt Reynolds movies that he directed. I've interviewed two of them, and I recently connected both of them because they hadn't seen each other in like 40 years.
Who were the two girlfriends?
Linda McClure back in the 70s, and then just after her, Tara Buckman. They were all in Hooper and Cannonball Run, and Linda was in Smokey and the Bandit.
I'm going to have to look those names up.
Yeah, they're great ladies. Great ladies. Yeah, was this a pilot?
I think it was a television movie. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I'm sure because of the changing times, it didn't sell because by that point, the good old boy culture had been, you know, kind of stale by that point, you know, after the Dukes of Hazzard and everything.
Right. It kind of played out.
Exactly, you know, but then the NASCAR culture got kind of more commercial and everything, but still, everyone had run the gamut of the good old boy movies. I always liked something to talk about. I think it came out probably at the wrong time, and it wasn't, you know, promoted correctly. Was there any good stories on that set?
Well, I have to say, Julia Roberts is such a pro. Mm-hmm. I was in the scene with a group of ladies, you know, who she asks, has anyone in this room slept with my husband?
Yeah.
Well, we shot that. Obviously, we shot her POV first. And most actresses of that caliber, of that fame, would have just gone back to their trailer and, you know, enjoyed a rest for 2 hours while they got their reaction shots. She stayed there the entire time. Mm-hmm. She did it over and over and over again so that we could react to her questions and what she was saying. I was so impressed by her.
Yeah, oh my God, the scene where, you know, they're kissing and trying to build up to making love, and she's like so in her head. It's so hilarious the way she could do comedy, you know. There's just this passionate moment, and then she's like, but you see, I don't want you to be my revenge ploy. I don't want you to be my rebound. It's so friggin' funny.
Yes. Yes, the comedy in that, I don't know if it was fully appreciated.
Exactly, that's what I was saying. I don't think that, you know, at the time, I just think it was probably released at the wrong time, you know.
Right.
Do you remember anything about Robert Duvall?
I didn't have any interactions with Robert Duvall. Of course, I think he's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I didn't have interactions with him. Barely saw him on set.
How about Kira Sedgwick?
None of those. No.
No. The director was Lasse Hallström. Is that how you pronounce the name?
Yes. Wonderful man. Very soft-spoken. He would talk with Sven Nykvist, I believe was the cinematographer. They would talk together quietly. He would direct us quietly. And, he directed the whole film quietly.
Oh, he was...
but I think he got what he wanted.
Oh, he didn't talk much?
He talked, but he talked very softly.
I see. Yeah, I mean, oh God, he worked on the ABBA movie in the 70s.
Oh, I didn't know that. But, of course, I loved Cider House Rules, which he directed.
Yeah, that's a good movie. My stepmom is actually obsessed with it. She watches it all the time.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah, Michael Caine got his second Oscar, and he was actually able to attend the ceremony that time, because the first time he was filming Jaws 4, and he regrets it.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. I'm a whirlwind of information, I tell you.
You are?
Yes. American Gothic. Now, I remember that show when it only lasted a short time. Oh my God, it was horrifying. I mean, Gary Cole, all he has to do is give you one look, and it's terrifying in that show. What was that experience like?
I don't remember any of the stars. I worked with Mark Joy. Mark Joy is an actor I've worked with before.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was in Ryan White's Story. It was fun. I had a little scene. I painted a statue, one of those, what are they called? The statues of...
Are they called monuments?
No, it was a little statue Southern people used to put on the end of their driveway or their walkway of a black young man with a cap on.
Uh-huh.
And my character had found out that was socially unacceptable, so she was painting his face white in the scene.
Wow.
It was hilarious. Yes. Yes.
Wow. That's something you probably couldn't do today.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Time changes.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it was a scary show. This Gary Cole is such a great actor. Deadly Pursuits.
Oh, Tori Spelling. Mm-hmm. She was a hoot. That was a fun shoot. Didn't have a whole lot of interaction with the other actors. Did my job and went home. But she was a great gal.
Yeah, Richard Belzer, who we lost recently, was in it, and Reginald VelJohnson, who was on Family Matters at the time. Yeah.
Didn't interact with any of those.
Right. Now, was Mrs. Tringle on Dawson's Creek a standard audition for you?
I think it was typical. We would go to Wilmington and read once for a role, and, it wasn't any different than any of the other roles I auditioned for.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the Detention Club episode is my favorite you're in, because I love The Breakfast Club. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and of course the episode references it. But you got so many great one-liners and comebacks in that episode that I still remember to this day, and that I just always quote and remember. You're like, after 8 hours, you're going to be like family. 8 hours, we're going to kill each other. And you're like, well, just don't get any on the books. And I mean that.
Don't get any blood on the books. Yes, yes, I remember that. Great lines. Yes, it was so much fun.
Yeah, and then you end the scene with stuff like, so, are you down with the program? Or, so, are you hip to my lingo? And then you walk away with that sly smirk and that wink. Did they let you
That was,
improvise?
yes, they did. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and my favorite is when you catch them in the gym, and they used a "we were hungry" excuse, and you're like, "So you went to the gym to do what? Eat a basketball?"
Basketball.
Yeah, that was such a great character. Like after 3 episodes, did they just stop calling you?
Well, he went on to make a movie about Mrs. Tringle with Helen
Oh,
Mirren.
teaching Mrs. Tingle, yes.
Yes. So, but I have to say, on the second or third trip up there, I had this huge monologue. Mind you, at that time, I was teaching 5 classes
Hmm.
at the college where I worked. And I'm not sure, I think it was a bit of a struggle for me to get that monologue out. It was one of those monologues that's delivering exposition. And I don't know whether it was because I didn't do the job they had hoped for on the monologue, or whether it was they had plans to make the movie. I don't know. But yes, the character disappeared.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I knew that Kevin Williamson, he had done teaching Mrs. Tingle, and then I noticed that there's Mrs. Tingle, Mrs. Tringle, so I did see the parallel of that, but they're two completely different versions of a mean teacher. Yours is more acerbic and sarcastic. Mrs. Tingle is much more sociopathic and just cruel and mean. You know.
Well, from what I understand, Kevin had a teacher that he had a very strange relationship with, and
Yeah.
that he didn't like. Yeah.
Because I could have saw Mrs. Tringle be on the series throughout, and then maybe we could have seen like an arc of her, like maybe we would have seen a vulnerable side of her, or maybe something crazy happens with her, because the show was pretty much a serial soap opera.
Oh, yeah. I would have loved that. I would have absolutely loved that.
Yeah, speaking of soap operas, she watches Days of Our Lives.
I know. I know. Well, she's supposed to be watching them.
Oh my God, Michelle Williams, she is so good. Like when you saw her, on set, did you think to yourself, she's going to be an Academy Award winner someday?
Well, it's funny you should ask that. They were all so talented, the young people.
Yeah.
But she was the quietest of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very soft spoken. I taught acting and voice and diction, and there was a little teacher part of me that wanted to go over to her and say, "Honey, speak up." But then when I watched the episode, she was perfect. Perfect. So she had this little soft voice. She was more reserved than the other young people.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see her brilliance until afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the ones who are very, very introverted and shy are probably the most talented, and the ones that are most likely going to have the most successful careers, because when they are in front of the camera, that's when they can be somebody that they're more comfortable with than they are when they're not working.
Right. She may have been soft spoken, but she was totally on. Totally on.
Yeah, and of course, Katie Holmes. I mean, I really thought she was going to have this great career, but then of course she married Tom Cruise, and the whole Scientology mess happened, and she's been paying the price for it ever since. But like, I just thought she was just as talented, and James Vanderbeek too. And I heard him say in an interview recently that he was not comfortable being famous during those 5 years that show was on, especially when his movie Varsity Blues came out and he hosted Saturday Night Live that weekend. He says it was just too much. It was more than he bargained for, he said.
I didn't pick up as much from the guys. I did think Katie Holmes was a bright light. I could see it. And yes, I was kind of sad that she didn't bloom more than she did. Of course, she has had great success, but not as great as Michelle's.
And Monica Keena, she blocked me recently on Facebook because I asked her for an interview, and she just blocked me. But she is great as Abby on Dawson's Creek, and they actually kept her in, the following season, and they did more episodes with her until her character was killed off. But like, I think you and her play off each other very well in that episode.
Yes, she was definitely a spark. Great actress. I'm surprised she blocked you.
Yeah.
I don't know what she's doing now, but
Yeah, well, when you're in a famous horror movie like Freddy versus Jason, you tend to get a lot of crazy fans approaching you. So, I don't take it that personal, but it's just like,
yeah.
at least I could have got, no thanks or something like that.
Oh well. People
And
are
then,
funny.
yeah, and then you played Elizabeth Shue's mother in Amy and Isabel.
I was honored because I think she's so pretty. Of
Yeah.
course, I didn't say very much. I don't think I said anything. I was just there being her mom, causing her to be the way she was.
She's very nice.
She is very nice.
Is she very outgoing?
I don't remember. We had short scenes together. She was sweet, friendly.
Nice. So you started making your own short films. The first was Saint Dee. What's the genesis of that, and why did you start making shorts?
Well, I directed when I worked at the community college, and my husband said, "Well, let's get this skill on film. Let's get this on videotape." And he applied for a grant, and that film, it reflects the spiritual side of both of us. When my sister died, we both saw an apparition, and that stuck with my husband, who's a writer. And so he wrote a short based on that. And I said, "Oh, I want to do that." And so we did.
Yeah, oh, by the way, I remember your husband from a little movie called Tracks.
Oh, wow.
Yep,
I
Shadow
don't
Stevens.
remember him from that. I remember him from 1969 and Sooty and Simpson, but
Oh, yeah, 1969. That's a great movie. It's very underrated.
yeah, he's the cop that chews gum a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the whole short craze has really blown up in the last decade. It's become a phenomenon I never expected. I mean, shorts have always existed, but they used to be like, segment fodder on TV, but now they're like being played at festivals, they're being played on YouTube and so forth. It's become a huge trend.
Yes. Yeah, we were lucky enough with St. Dede. It was selected by the Mirabel Dictu, which is the Papal Film Festival, and it was one of the top 3 films. So we feel very honored about that.
Yeah. I couldn't find the whole short on YouTube, but I found the scene where the nurse is washing the old lady's feet.
Yes, well, the whole thing is on YouTube. I believe it's under, it won a film contest. I'm trying to remember. It is available on YouTube. I'll send you a link.
Okay, that'd be great. Yeah. I just saw that one scene and stuff. I was like, wow, those feet don't look too good. Then you do Songbird. What's the genesis of that?
Totally different. So we went from light to dark. We had wanted to do something that was strange and otherworldly. I guess the common thread is they're both otherworldly. One is positive and one is negative. My husband and I are both huge fans of Alfred Hitchcock and Twilight Zone, and so he came up with this idea, and I was fortunate enough because I grew a lot from the students that I taught. Mm-hmm. The leading man, who has won many awards, was one of my students, Jonathan Benton.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard you say in another interview that you were a Hitchcock fan. Like, what are your favorite movies of Hitchcock's?
Hard to say which one was the favorite. Of course, Psycho. I saw that in film class when I was at IU. But, Marnie. um, what else? Rear View Window. I mean, so many of his films are wonderful.
My favorites are all at his peak. I love The Birds, Vertigo, Rear Window, Psycho, North by Northwest, Strangers on a Train. All his pre 50s ones are okay, but like to me that was like his best period, and I think as he got older, he became more of a personality, on TV shows and stuff, and I think it kind of pigeonholed him as this odd, heavyset man, and people didn't really realize what a genius he was until probably much later.
Yes, but I'm glad you mentioned Vertigo and North by Northwest. Also, two of my favorites. Yes.
Yeah, I was reading. He was supposed to make that movie for Warner Brothers, and Jimmy Stewart was originally going to play the lead. And then when Stewart dropped out of it, Warner Brothers dropped out of it. So then he went to Paramount, who was the other studio he was working with at the time. They didn't want to make it without Jimmy Stewart. So then MGM said yes, and he didn't get along with the people at MGM. So that ended up being the only movie he made for them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
You're a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting when I read that too, and I could see Jimmy Stewart in that role.
Yes, I can do.
I think after 3 Hitchcock movies, he just felt like he was doing the same thing over and over again, or something. That's probably why he dropped out of it, or something. But yeah, those are all great. And of course, I used to watch his show, Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Right, definitely.
Yeah, I actually interviewed Janet Leigh's stunt double in the shower scene in Psycho.
Oh, I bet she had her work cut out for her.
Yes, she did. In fact, she was in Playboy before that.
I can imagine.
She was one of the early like Playboy bunnies and stuff, and she was in the magazine in the 50s. Yeah, and yeah, she goes to all the autograph shows and conventions, and signs autographs and everything. I think I was at one convention she was scheduled at, but I think she canceled, and that was I think before I interviewed her. But hopefully someday I'll meet her, even though she's in her early 90s now. Hopefully I'll get to meet her.
Catch her soon, right?
I'm sorry?
Catch her soon.
Yeah, capture soon. Exactly. Yeah, Hitchcock, he was just so great, And of course, Brian De Palma made thrillers that were influenced by, Hitchcock style. Do you like any of his thrillers?
Oh, yeah, I loved Carrie.
Carrie, yes, that's one of my favorite horror movies. Dressed to Kill.
And Dressed to Kill with Michael Caine. Oh, my gosh, and Angie Dickinson. Yes.
And what's that one? Body Double.
Not sure I know that one. Who's in it?
Craig Wasson, who was an up and coming young star at the time. He was in The Boys and Company C and a couple other movies. Yeah, he's trying to solve this case of like a porno killing. He comes home. His wife is screwing another guy, and so he ends up being tangled in this web of like a porn murder happening and stuff. And it's got Melanie Griffith and Mindy Miller, who was Elvis's girlfriend after Priscilla, and I interviewed her last year.
Oh, how fun!
Yeah.
How fun!
Yeah, yeah. It's a great movie. Check it out, Body Double.
I will.
So, are you going to make more shorts?
I don't know. It depends on funding. Of course, I'm getting a little gray, a little bit. So we'll see. Not to say that I don't have life in me still, and my husband as well, but we'll see what happens.
How did you beat Denise Gossett?
Denise Gossett, help me.
She's our mutual friend on Facebook. She's the blonde. She had that festival, Shriek Fest.
Oh, yes. Well, she didn't invite Songbird, although lots of other festivals did. I think my husband knows her. Maybe one of his other shorts was done there. He did a short called The Mark. So that may have been shown at Shriekfest.
Yeah, I've had her on here 3 times. She's a sweet lady. The last time I had her on here was like 4 years ago, and then once COVID hit, she's kind of put Shriekfest on the back burner and stuff. And she's been acting full time and stuff. So I haven't had her on a 4th time, but hopefully I will, at least when next year comes. I adore her.
Well,
She's
good for
sweet.
her.
Yeah.
Good for her acting. Yes, good for her.
So do you have any upcoming projects?
I don't. I was kind of excited by this interview because I thought, well, maybe this will help kickstart me again.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, there's been some people who have come on my podcast, and then the next time I talk to them, they have like 100 different things, thrown at them that they didn't have at the time.
Well, I hope I'm one of them.
Absolutely, I mean, I'm pretty sure that during COVID it was pretty tough over there. You probably couldn't even get stage work.
Oh, nothing. It was dead. Everything was dead. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and of course, the strike, even though it stopped, the negotiations are going on this week, and everyone's saying don't do it, and all of that stuff. There's a lot of insanity, but hopefully, come next year, everything will fall into place, and you'll get more stuff to do.
That sounds good. I like that wish from you. Thank you.
I try to be hopeful and optimistic.
Well, you are, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Real quick, we got to play my secret silly game. This is a series of silly slumber party questions. No win or lose. It's just pure fun. And how the game works is I ask you the question, you answer it, and then you ask me that exact same question and I answer it. And feel free to comment on the answers because they might be funny.
Okay.
Okay. Helen, are you ticklish?
Yes. Are you ticklish?
Oh, yes, but if you tickle me without warning, though, I might hit you in the groin.
Oh.
Is your belly button an innie or an outie?
Innie. Is your belly button an innie or an outie?
It is also an innie.
Okay.
What color are your toenails painted?
I don't paint my toenails. I don't paint my nails.
Okay.
What color are your toenails?
Right now they're not painted, but last time they were lavender purple.
Ooh, okay, very good.
I like to go elaborate, I've been painting my toenails since I was 13.
Oh, fun.
It is fun. I mean, it's a lot of work. You got to focus, but it's fun. I don't get them done professionally anymore because inflation has gone up, unfortunately.
Oh, I know. I can't believe people who pay money to get their toenails painted. I'm like, gosh, go to the drugstore, pay $5 for some nail polish, and paint your own toenails.
What would you say is your best personality trait?
Oh, that's a hard one. Sense of humor?
Nice.
What is your best personality trait?
Well, being that I'm a Gemini, I have empathy and I have no filter.
My husband's a Gemini as well.
Really? Does he have no filter?
Yes, he does not have a filter.
If you could have anything named after you, what would it be?
A cat. If you could have anything named after you, what would it be?
A vibrator.
Oh.
How's this sound? The Tommy Chatsy.
Oh, okay.
And then my favorite question, is there a stinky smell that just makes you gag?
I'm sure there are several, but to be honest, my nose is not the best. It's not because of COVID. I don't think I've ever had the most discriminating sense of smell. So what is your
My stinky
worst
smell that just makes me gag? It's either farts or feet.
Oh, okay.
I'm Italian on my mom's side. We're very sensitive to smell in my family.
Oh, okay.
Like to my mom, everything stinks. Everything, everywhere she goes, she's just got to complain about the smell. So you had COVID?
No, I didn't have COVID. My sense of smell has been bad most of my life.
Oh,
The reason I said that was, a lot of people say during COVID they lose their sense of smell.
right.
Well, I haven't had COVID. I just don't have a sense of smell.
Gotcha.
Not a very good one.
Gotcha.
Not a very good one.
Gotcha. Well, Helen, I thank you so much for coming on today. And I have to say, you are the very definition of Southern hospitality. And thank you so much. And I hope you and your husband have a happy holiday season and be safe out there.
Likewise, and I hope you do as well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Helen Baldwin. Ain't she a sweetheart? Oh, what a great lady, huh? I mean, she really is Southern hospitality, and I'm so glad we could have that conversation today. Just a wonderful lady. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.